Hi, welcome to Art Recycled with Mrs. Hollemeyer. Today we're going to learn how to draw this small metal spaceship. This is a small part of a bigger project that I do with 5th grade on outer space, 3-dimensional drawing, value, color mixing. A lot of things are in this project. If you want to learn how to draw the planets, I have another lesson on Art Recycled called How to Draw 3D Planets with Chalk Pastels. There's also another lesson on Art Recycled, How to Draw 3D Planets with Sketches School, which shows you how to do it with digital drawing. So to do this small metal piece, you're going to need 36 gauge metal. This isn't kind of sitting around in your kitchen. This isn't tin foil. And so I bought this from Saks Arts and Crafts. You can also get it from Michael's, or you can get it from Hobby Lobby. You're also going to need something to draw on. So you're going to need some white paper and probably a Sharpie to draw your spaceship. My students bring their iPads, just something to reference. And then once their drawing is done, you're going to need to have something to carve it on. So I have some scrap cardboard from a box and a pen. This does the carving in the metal. And then once it's carved, we color it. We use colored Sharpies. And then we cut it out with the scissors. And it's also helpful to have some tape just to kind of to hold things still. And then lastly, definitely not needed, but you may want a green scrubby sponge, because if you color over the raised lines, as you can see, these raised lines help the shapes in the spaceship look separate. This is what's going to take it off, but definitely not needed. I know that was a lot of things, but let's go ahead and get started and learn how to make this cute spaceship. All right, so to get started here, I have my black marker and I have my iPad. And I'm going to look up a clip art image of a spaceship. And so what I searched in Google was literally, if you can read it, outline of a rocket ship clip art. And because I'm going to be carving in metal, I actually don't want to pick a really detailed one. Like even this one of this NASA space shuttle might be too difficult. Because, this metal, it's kind of thick. It's not going to give necessarily too easily. And so I'm going to go with a spaceship that's a little bit simpler. Maybe I'm just going to pick this one right here, right? And I can even enlarge it. I can zoom in. And once I get it the size I want, I can do a couple of things. I can freehand draw it, or this is kind of one of the very few projects I let my 5th graders kind of use their iPad like a light box, and I do let them trace it right on here. If they have a pencil, they can do that and trace it on their sheet. This is easy enough. I'm just going to freehand draw it. And there we go. There's my basic drawing. I'm not going to draw these lines. Obviously, I won't need that as part of my metal spaceship. And maybe I can add another few simple details that I want. So maybe I'll add a circle there, maybe another line there, just to give it a little bit more detail than what it has. But when it's drawn, I've got my piece of metal here. So what I want to do is I wanted to make sure that the Sharpie you see bled through onto the back, because it's actually this side you want to see. You want to line your spaceship up with your metal. And it's okay if, the paper runs off of the metal a little bit. The most important thing is that the spaceship is all the way on the metal. Then when I'm sure that the spaceship is all the way on the metal, I'm going to use some tape it on so it doesn't move. So now I'm going to need my cardboard and a pen. So I have just a sheet from a box here, and I have a ballpoint pen here, red, and I am going to trace where I see the spaceship through the paper. Now, you have to be on cardboard. If you're not on cardboard, there's no, give to a hard table to let this carve into the metal. Now, you can't see this just with me tracing it, but I pushed pretty hard. And I'm pushing hard. Now I'm going to flip this over, and you can see there is my spaceship carved in the metal. So now I'm going to take the tape, I'm going to peel it off. I don't need really this anymore. And this side is popping up. Now, if I feel like it's not popping up enough, I can flip it again to the back side. The back side is where the metal is going down, and I can kind of trace it again with a ballpoint pen. That sometimes smooths out those bumps that, I just kind of created. But you can also make a mistake, which is what I just did. My hand just slipped and my pen just kind of went off. So if that happens, I just kind of creatively make the same thing on the other side and just kind of fix that mistake. If you feel like it pops out enough on this side, the side where it is popping up, and you don't mind those bumps, you can see your spaceship quite clearly, you don't need to do the second step where you're carving it again on this side. So now I'm gonna flip it over, and what I'm going to do is I have my colored Sharpies here. I'm going to color in my spaceship, but I don't wanna color over the raised lines that I did. I actually want those to stay silver because it helps the different shapes in the spaceship pop out, making sure that each shape that I color in my spaceship is a different color because I don't want everything to blend together. Now, what happens if I accidentally did go over my silver lines a little bit? Well, there's something extra you can do, definitely not needed. If you have one of these kitchen scrubbing sponges, it'll take off any color that you get on those raised lines if you just rub it a little bit. Now that my spaceship is colored, I can go ahead and cut it out. So I'm going to take a scissors here and I'm going to cut right outside of the raised line. So I don't want to cut on the raised line. I'm cutting right outside of it and leaving just a very small border. Now sometimes you have to be creative with how you cut because as you can see that metal doesn't want to bend very well. And so I kind of cut it out in like these puzzle pieces. So now my spaceship is ready to be glued onto my project, but I want it to be glued so that it's popping out, so that it's a little bit 3D for my project. All right, so here is my outer space project. This time I did it with oil pastels instead of chalk pastels. But now I have my spaceship and I want it to look like it's, flying through my space landscape, but I want it to look like it's popping out of the project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of white glue, and I've got a small cutout piece of cardboard here. I'm gonna put some glue on the cardboard, and then I'm going to lay that cardboard where I want my spaceship. I want it in this corner. So I'm gonna lay that down, and then I'm gonna take a little bit of glue, put it on the top of the cardboard, and then I'm going to take my spaceship, and I'm going to press it onto the cardboard like that, and just let it sit for a minute before I pick it up. But now it does have the effect that it's floating a little bit above the landscape and it looks really cool and really 3D. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson on how to make a small spaceship out of metal. You can add it to another project or you can just have it be a cute project by itself. I'll see you next time on Art Recycled. Bye.